Think that a celebrity like star fees need a disruption right now. Like that correction has to happen. There can't be so much at the top and then by the time it trickles down, it's nothing.
So if you had to probably groom a young actor,
Yeah.
who would you give them as a point of reference in terms of ethics?
Like Vicky is someone that has gone and done the whole audition drill, no name throwing. Even though his father did come from the industry, he just did it like any other normal boy. Even Siddhant Chaturvedi. This push for me, though I don't understand only. I'm like, where should I push you? There isn't a handbook for casting. It is only a job that you can learn on the job. I think we're actually going through a hardcore transition right now with like where I think the audience is kind of trying to scream out that you can't fool us anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just like repeat one thing again and again, like action after action, and we're gonna come and watch it. The nation is talking and we
Yeah.
have to listen. I feel like the most wonderful part about OTT was the fact that we didn't care about where the actor came from. We just cared about what they brought to the table. And that is again gone into some, like the same box office wala taste of like bringing names and
Yeah.
running after names. And we can see clearly that the minute that mentality shifted, a lot of the OTT has not done well.
Welcome to another episode of #Preach. Today we have the immense pleasure of welcoming an absolute powerhouse in the world of the Indian film industry. She is the reason why we have some of the best casts on our favorite shows. From a serendipitous start, assisting Ayan Mukherjee on his movie Up Sid, to today curating and bringing to life some of the most memorable characters and casts of our times, be it Uri, The Crew, Kapoor and Sons, or the phenomenon that was The Class on Netflix. Panchami decodes just what it takes to succeed in the cutthroat business of showbiz. So, Panchami Gavri, welcome to #Preach. I'm thrilled to have you here because I have followed your work. I followed your Instagram. Apart from beautiful pictures of where you travel and food you eat and how you curate your beautiful life, what I'm very intrigued by is how does casting really work? In frankly, for an outsider, me including, it seems like a very opaque world. You know, Bollywood or the Indian film industry, or now even the OTT. Like, how do I apply to be an actor? You know, how do I send in? Is there a CV I can send? And also, I think for many young folks, especially women, is it safe? You know, so that's what I'm really eager to understand how to do. And I think it's only now that the Indian film industry is getting organized, much
Yeah.
like fashion. In the past 3-4 years, we're seeing that, and you're one of the first few who's building like the entrepreneurship side of Bollywood by starting your own company and casting company. So I'm very eager to know the inner workings of how all that works. So this episode is powered by Niposh. So Panchami, tell me about your journey. You started at age 18. And then you assisted Ayan Mukherjee on Up Sid, which
Yeah.
was also a cultural like phenomenon.
Very
at the-
progressive
Yeah,
film.
very progressive. So tell me about your experience there and then how that kind of pushed you to do what you're doing today.
Yeah. So I actually started off working on the film not knowing which avenue of film that I want to eventually work in. And I don't know, call it luck or I don't know, destiny or whatever it is, but I was actually, as my first job on Ayan's film, I was put on to casting. So Nandini Shrikant at the time was casting the film. And I was just put on to her. So I was like literally shadowing her. And I was super young. And it's just casting in general, I would say, is like a people's person job because a lot of my job is like handling people, emotions, how we deal with people makes a huge difference to the way that they'll be able to perform on camera. So I started enjoying it then only. I was like super young. I got to meet lots of fun people and we were casting for like different characters. And Nandini was also, I think she was definitely an amazing role model because she gave me a lot of liberty for someone that was very young. So she let me direct auditions and stuff, which for an 18-year-old is like, wow, like I'm getting to do something so cool. And so I kind of fell in love with it then and there. And I started to really enjoy it. Maybe because I was young, I was also malleable. So I was able to, not think too much about like, oh, maybe mujhe ye karna. I just kind of went with this flow. And then I assisted her for a year and I really enjoyed that process. At the time, there was no Instagram and Facebook. So casting directors were their database. So slowly I started to kind of, because I worked with her, I already had some access to actors or reaching out to actors or being able to get in touch with them. Because today we've moved into a whole different world where I can write to an actor on Instagram even if I don't know
Yeah.
them and we'll just connect. But at earlier it wasn't like that. So I just jumped in. I worked with her for a year. I enjoyed it. Then I decided that I still was like wanted to experience a little bit of that going abroad and studying. And to be honest, my parents couldn't afford. Like a lot of my school friends were going for 4 years, and that whole, that used to be a very big deal earlier. Like now I
Yeah.
can see it's like kind of going away. So obviously I was also curious ki what would it be like. So I enrolled myself in a 4-month course, which was at Lee Strasberg in New York, which is actually predominantly an acting program, but it also has other things like screenwriting and direction and stuff. So I said, okay, let's go and explore film and also I think, to be honest, I was looking to explore like living on my own in a
Oh,
new
it's a
city.
big, I mean, like a lot of
Yeah.
people, when they ask me, should I go and study abroad? I'm like, honestly, it's not going to teach you anything, but
But
it's
you
going to
will
give you a hell lot of
experience,
exposure
yeah.
and you're going to understand yourself and
Yeah.
like, and that is so crucial.
I feel like I actually learned more from New York than the course.
Yeah. That's what I say about London. Like, I did a very small,
Yeah.
short portfolio course in LCF.
Yeah.
I was never inside the university walls. I
Yeah,
was
yeah. I
only
took out
outside,
mornings and
and it
all.
taught me so much.
And then I came back and I was like, okay, now what next? And then I did a little bit of theater actually with AK Various, who again I work very closely with. Even now, Mismatch was with them.
Right, okay.
And then I kind of worked with Ador, who's another casting director, for a little bit, maybe like a couple of months, a bunch of ads. And then I don't know how I had the confidence now when I look back, but I kind of was like, I think I can do this on my own.
That's youth.
It is huge. Like now that I look back, I'm 34 now, and I look back at my 21-year-old self, I'm like, wow, guts punch.
Yeah, and I wish we could get that, right? Like I also remember myself when I started the brand at 19 and I was just a lot more fiery and a lot more gutsy and I was able to put myself out there.
Yeah.
Now I think so
Me
much before
too.
doing
Yeah, I
something. So I mean
overanalyze.
that youth is something that it's a gift if
Yeah,
you utilize it
I agree.
well.
Yeah.
So how did you then decide, okay, I want to do it on my own? But at that time, did you have a blueprint on what does it really take to build a team, to reach out to directors? Like, how does it work?
No, so actually there isn't a handbook for casting. I don't think any of like Whistling Woods or any of the schools that we have in India have anything on casting, sadly. So it is only a job that you can learn on the job. So most people, or if someone wanted to be a casting director, they would have to work in casting first. So what I did is that I literally did it like guerrilla style. I just got in touch with a bunch of, so it would be too gutsy to get in touch with film people first because nobody is going to entertain you.
Yeah.
So you obviously start with advertising because that's how budding casting directors would start. And it's an easier sort of in. So I just jumped in and I started to reach out to production houses. Obviously, nobody answered my phone call and nobody replied to my messages. But you kind of keep at it till somebody replies and somebody takes a meeting. And sadly, the way to start is always to, you try to say that money is not, of the first concern to you. So you do things for lesser, you make ends meet. I didn't have an office space, so I didn't have a team. My advertising, I was doing fully on my own. Like I was just doing it on my own. I didn't need I didn't need anyone to help me with it. But eventually, of course, as I started to do more advertising, I got one assistant on board. But there was office and all was far from sight.
So you reached out to production
Yeah.
houses. Somebody finally
Or
responded.
what says, yes, you want to meet.
And then how do you then go about reaching out to actors?
Yeah, so that bit I had got because of the Nandini. Like I had a little bit of a database with Nandini.
So internships are really important.
100%.
Yeah.
I think working with people, because the thing is, you understand how the job works in the real world, which is that what do you like. By now, I was not underconfident of the fact of how do I crack an ad or how do I crack a casting, because that I knew how to do.
Right.
I just had to get someone to have faith in me to give me the ad,
Yeah.
which I think is a really, like, sometimes you can have the skill, but not enough people to trust you to do that skill.
Right, right.
So I think that was hard to go pillar to post from like asylum films, so many like off-road films, all of these people, like I've gone and tried to get meetings with them, then somehow cracked one ad, taken no money on it, like a 15,000, 20,000 for an ad types,
Yeah.
and then just kind of then made ends meet one way or another. But I think I, I, because I also am a social person, this helped,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
knew
get to that.
people of my age, and I knew that I had a lot of friends. So I'm like, my friends ke beech mein hi casting kar lungi.
Even
Yeah.
for me, when I was starting the brand, my first few models were my sisters.
Yeah.
My photographers were my sisters. My sales people at exhibitions were my sisters because it was just me. And there were like these hordes of women coming at me. Ye kitne ka, ye kitne ka. And it was just me. And I remember my 8 years younger sister standing there and saying, Didi, how much do I say for this? So I think it is that
Yeah,
at
it
the
is that.
beginning, right? Like, so we have to be very realistic about the all the steps that you have to take to arrive at a point where you have an office, where you
Yeah.
have a
And make the
space and
most
things
of the
like
world
that.
around you. Yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
So when you talk about internships, do you feel like there are enough opportunities right now for people to apply to more organized setups like
Yeah.
yours?
Yes. So we actually are we put it out pretty much for every new project that we start. We always need interns to come on board, and I do end up getting a lot of actors because they see casting as a medium to learn acting. And honestly, it is a great medium
Right.
because you get to give cues, you get to see what we like in auditions, what's not working, what the way that I'm directing actors. So you kind of get a first hand information of what works on. Sometimes actors को लगता है कि what they are doing is working, or they've given a really good audition, but sometimes that doesn't translate
Yeah.
correctly on camera. So I think for a casting assistant also, who may be an actor, to see what someone is performing and how it's looking on the camera, on screen, that is really important. Like, that's something you'll get to learn in casting.
Okay, so you do the auditions, you tell the actors what kind of, how to do the dialogue delivery for a certain script, what is the director looking for, what he isn't, or he or she isn't. So I didn't know that that was a part of what you do. So I really just want to know, like, what does a casting director do? And just give me details of
Okay,
like,
fine. So should we go from the start?
from the start, like I'm an actor
Huh.
and I want to reach out to you.
Okay.
I'm a budding actor. Like, how do I do it? And
So
then
I'm auditioning for a film. I've clearly read a script. The director has given me a background of what they are looking for in actors. We've pulled out scenes of every single character that we are going to audition. We start with some what you call a primary cast, which is your most important characters in a film. Then secondary, then tertiary. Tertiary being your day players,
Right.
people that are shooting only for one day. Secondary are people that are supporting the film, but very, very, very important to
very
the film.
crucial.
An actor will typically either already be in our database if they've already tested with us before. We do have a very large database because we've been auditioning for a long time, and one way or another, you may have tested with us. But the actor community is constantly growing. So we do keep putting out. Ideally, if you're a fresher, you would keep an eye out on our Instagram page where we
Right.
put all our requirements for most of the projects that we are casting for. So what we do is that either we start with calling people that are in our database. When we are in that journey, we've not been able to still find anyone. We put it out to the world, to all of India, and we say that we're looking for this age category. Please send us your pictures, your introduction. So they would ideally send us 4 to 5 pictures. Again, I would like to state that the concept of portfolio pictures is actually going out of fashion. So I would not
Okay.
recommend for actors to go and spend. ये पहले होता था where people would spend lakhs and say 70,000, 80, 90, 1 lakh on a portfolio shoot karna hai. I think that now that's not important anymore because we've moved to really good camera qualities on our phones only. Let's say your iPhone or your
Right.
Samsung, Android. You can take good enough pictures on your phone with like just a simple outfit. I should be able to see your face. A few rules I would put down is like a lot of actors send us pictures with glares on. Obviously defeats the purpose. Don't send us pictures.
Eyes are so
I need to
important.
be able to see you. So I
Yeah.
would say mids and closes.
Yeah.
in a simple outfit, not too jarring, not too printed, so that the focus is on you and your personality and your face. For pictures, maybe an introduction will come to us along with languages spoken. This is important because if, let's say, we are looking for an actor who needs to be originally from Gujarat, it always helps if you can speak the language. Lines may still be in Hindi, but we may inculcate a few words in Gujarati here and there in the test to show the director, okay,
Yeah.
there's a comfort. Then we shortlist from the options that we get. One sad truth in India is that we get a lot of spam. So even if people don't fit in a category, the minute they see,
Yeah. Yeah.
they just jump
An
up on
opening.
the opportunity. So what happens in that, why it's a drawback, is because then my team has to spend more time to filter it, because we've got so many emails that don't match what we're looking for. But that's just,
I'm going to cut you here. What
yeah.
is the craziest pitch that you've ever got so far? Like, is there anything in your DMs or emails that you
Pitch,
can,
like once
from an
we were doing
actor?
an introduction for a guy for an MA. This was during Brothers. That was crazy. We were doing an open thing where we were doing introductions to find people, and the camera was set much like this camera is set, and this guy came and said that, he wanted to show his talent, so he started to do, like, he went upside down and he did like MMA moves and stuff, but he didn't realize he's not in the camera. Like, I feel like sometimes they are like looking to show you the talent, but they don't have the sense कि
Of like,
कैमरा पे क्या, मतलब क्या कर रहे हो, मतलब मुझे कुछ कुछ खाली टांगे दिख रही है ऐसे. So I feel like that.
oh, poor guy.
But I do get a lot of like long emails about like if I could give them one chance. It's actually really sweet. Honestly, I don't find it. A lot of people ask me if I laugh a lot. Oh, casting must be very funny. But no, I don't find it funny. It's my job, and I'm actually a very, very sensitive person myself. So I see that struggle for an actor and how difficult it can be. I do get a lot of messages saying that, if I couldn't just give them one chance, then I would, give them one chance to prove themselves types. But that also comes from a lot of people.
Was there anyone who you kind of rejected, when you saw the pictures and all that, but the person was
I
really
don't think I
persistent?
reject anyone.
Oh, but they didn't make the cut. But then they were very persistent. You gave them a
Yeah, I've
shot
had
and
one
you were like,
experience with a young girl who came, and I was getting persistently called by someone in her family member who came from a certain background, maybe a political family in Rajasthan. And there was a lot of like push for someone, push for her. And actually it was not the poor girl's fault. She was trying to just give auditions, and I think the family was trying to kind of cut corners to be like, can you push this push for me? So I don't understand only. I'm like, where should I push you? So I was like, I can't do that. you
yeah,
you have to perform. I can't just push for someone.
right.
And I wouldn't do that. I'm working, I'm seeing the auditions. I'm not just going to pick someone because I have a relation with you, or if I have hung out with you a few times, just to push you, because
Yeah,
that would
like
be
me
wrong.
saying, can you cast me, Panchami,
But listen,
send a DM, Panchami, can you
I
please
love
cast?
people in my life doing cameos. So if
Yeah.
you're open to that, then I might put you
Okay,
somewhere in
cool.
a
I've got
show.
myself a gig.
Yeah, so you typically get in touch with us on an email, and then we shortlist people and we reach out to them. Now, again, something we've started doing after the lockdown is that we do some of the first rounds will be self tests, because it's a way of us working smarter instead of just working hard unnecessarily. So the first round is to just get them to send us a self test in. If you do well in that self test, then you're coming to the office and you're getting a scene, and we're going to give you a background of the film, the
What if they
character.
don't live in Bombay?
They can send us a self test in, or say that I won't be able to come in. That's another amazing thing that's happened, that like humans, I love that about humans, we adapt. So we adapted to a new culture of casting. So now we don't pressurize anyone to come in and test. If you can't come in and test, it's not like, oh, opportunity chali gayi. Pehle bahut pressure डालते थे actors पे. कल ही आओ. You're like, अरे,
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I'm from somewhere else. कैसे आऊँ मैं कल? So now you're like, you can send the audition in, and then we may micromanage it. We may be like, change this, change that, resend this. Send. Now what we've started to do again to work smarter is that my team will tell the actor that let us know when you're auditioning only, and send it to us in real time.
Okay.
So we can make changes then and there,
Right.
versus your person who's giving you cues has left. Now you have to redo the whole setup. You have to wear your clothes. So we ask people to send it to us on we just say that let us know what time you're recording, and we'll keep our phones active so we can tell you in real time कि ये change कर लो, तो आपको वो setup 2 बार नहीं करना पड़ेगा. So that and then obviously there's multiple levels of auditioning. It's not just one. The first one would typically be either in the office or you send something. The second round would definitely be in the office. So usually we do one scene in the first round, but the second round will have a slightly different tonality. Like let's say if the first scene is a little more girl meets boy or just a regular conversation, then the second scene will have a slightly different emotion. So either it would be like,
Right.
let's say, anger, a heartbreak, a fight, anything that's slightly more high on emotion. And then I think after that is usually like, I'm working with directors where in the second round, a director may even step in
Okay.
to direct the actor, to be like, okay, now we have to next either send it to the producer or the platform. Let's get the director to give their vision. Also, this is a great playground for the directors to see how the actor is able to take directions quickly. Are they taking time to warm up? And then obviously we do that. That's the last.
Like a director's actor,
Yeah.
do they fare better in these auditions, or do you like somebody who just brings their
No,
own
I
kind
think
of
director actors.
madness,
I
right?
think director actors fare better because I think it's not only about how you're acting. It's also, are you a good listener? Are you, are you,
Feedback, can you take
are you
feedback?
taking that? Are you taking what the director is saying?
So basically, we want to talk about like key personal lessons that you have learned working specifically in this industry
Yeah.
that have shaped you to be the Panchami that sits here today.
I think first and foremost, having a very strong support system that's outside of the industry is super important. Like I feel like just my mom, my sister, my dad, also having a relationship, like it's helped me to have a stable relationship through my growing or my growth spurt in the industry, because it can definitely be a little bit complicated sometimes when you're dealing with super creative minds. There's also industry politics is real. There's so many things. So I feel like I've always believed in keeping my head down and working and not getting too involved in anything other than the job itself. So I don't actually have, I mean, I have a bunch of friends in the industry, but mostly my world is outside. One incident that happened, when it was almost like I didn't have that much faith in myself. This was very early on in my career when I went for my first ever casting director meeting. So I went and met Karan Malhotra, and we were, he was kind of sussing me out. Like he was like, okay, let's see what this girl has to
Yeah.
offer. And it was a remake of a film called Warrior at the time. So I had not even watched the film. I watched the film like one night before I went to meet him.
Huh.
So I was like kind of like, this is like in my mind I had like, this is not happening because I'm just not experienced for this.
Yeah.
And I think something in that meeting must have been like my energy was so easygoing because I didn't have any nervousness of getting the film because I was so sure that I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
Next day, I get a call from Santosh Singh, who's a dear friend, and he was the first AD on the film, and he was like, "Ha." So I said, "Ha, it's okay. I know, but like, thanks so much for getting me the meeting types." And he was like, "You're on." I was like, what? And this film is like about MMA. It has 100 MMA fighters. So I think that like someone taking a bet on you just because your energy is like fresh, young, and you're ready to like prove yourself.
Yeah, that's a very lovely thing you've said. Like somebody betting on you.
Yeah, someone betting on you is so important in life.
Yeah. We don't talk about that enough.
Yeah.
We just talk about I did it, I was resilient, da da da. But I think for somebody to come and say, "Hey, I think you can do it,"
Is
it actually is the fuel to your fire.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a game changer, right? Because sometimes you only don't have the faith.
Yeah.
And then someone else shows it, and you're like, hey, I'm doing something right.
Yeah,
Like, let me just
absolutely.
follow this path. And then I canceled my Rome holiday.
Oh no.
No, I don't feel sad about it at all. I canceled the Rome holiday and then
Yeah.
I casted the film. And that was it was a domino effect film for me because Shakun, who was making Kapoor and Sons, actually took a recommendation from Karan Malhotra, that listen, you worked with Panchami, how is she? And I didn't know all this. This was like behind
Yeah,
closed
of
doors,
course.
right?
Yeah.
And then Karan must have said something nice, and then Shakun got in touch with me, and I got Kapoor and Sons.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
I
that was a
feel like,
beautiful film.
yeah, I think that was the game changer film
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
also.
Reflecting on your almost decade-long career, was there any one movie or any show that
Yeah.
was particularly really challenging?
I think Class would be one. I mean, it was also thrilling and challenging at the same
Yeah.
time. I think challenging because that show came to me as a spillover. Now, I'll explain what a spillover is. A spillover project is basically when someone else has been casting it and then it comes to you. So you don't kind of get the fresh palette.
Why does it come to you?
For whatever reasons, it's not worked out with another casting director. They've not been able to crack options, or the director feels like they want another perspective on the show. So it came to me in 2020 April, bang in the lockdown when I was at home, and challenging for two reasons. And I think this is interesting to share. Uh, One, that we were just about adapting to working remotely. Casting is actually not a remote job because we work so much on instincts, what the actor is feeling, how to make them feel comfortable, how to tell them कि ये लाइन में नहीं, it's not working, इसको ज़्यादा करो, इसको कम करो. तो वो actually it's not possible to do that remotely, right?
Interesting.
Because
Because I always thought if you have a good portfolio, good pictures, and like a
yeah.
show reel.
But if you're sending an audition in, then an actor is sending what they think is what we want. They think of what we want.
Right.
But we don't always want what they think, right? Because we've read the script, they've read a scene. We never send actors that are auditioning the entire screenplay. They only get one scene. And they get a little bit about the background of the character or a character brief. So I think that was challenging, which is doing a project at a time, which was one of my most exciting projects ever. At a time where I'm not able to meet actors and guide them, but we are looking for freshers. So it's just hard. Like every audition, I think from all of the 10 kids that were in the show, I think each one of them must have tested before they got selected at least 15 times.
Wow.
I also think the other reason why it was challenging was because I was personally having a really difficult time in the lockdown. So I think, as they say, I think I put a lot of my creative energies in Class.
And each character was so very clearly well cast. Like when we talk about Aisha,
Yeah.
and if you see her journey now to like she's
Yeah.
become like this fashion phenomenon.
Yeah.
And I think that was such beautiful, brilliant casting at your end to put her for the role that she was, because it's such
She's
a
actually
natural.
perfect. She is, yes.
Yeah, it's a natural extension of like her outward like
Yeah,
personality.
personality.
So I think
Yeah.
that for me, like that is when I was like, okay, so Panchami has done the casting. That was actually the first time where
Yeah.
I
think
even
I
took
had the
note,
most
because
fun
I
working
think
on that.
OTT has kind of done that.
Yeah.
Because in movies, honestly with Bollywood, it's so opaque, as I said,
Yeah.
that it's like, अच्छा किसी ने किया होगा, director ने किया
Yeah.
होगा, उसके contacts होंगे, उसके friends होंगे, dada. You don't really know that there's a casting person involved. But
Yeah.
in OTT, because it's freshers, you want to know who picked this person, who picked this, why did they pick this, and that's when I it led me to you. Is there any very clear part that you kind of altered or tweaked that we may have seen from the outside, not knowing Panchami has left a mark there? Or
I can't think of anything specifically, but yeah, one or two times I have felt and told directors that I'll tell you. Basically, we do this thing. I'm speaking largely, not specifically in a role, which is that in scripts we write like a Sardar boy, for instance. But that a Sardar boy should be able to test for any boy's part.
right.
Right? So we should not be having that specification of in the script you're writing only when you were written a Sardar boy tab hum unko cast karenge.
Right.
So that I feel like is something that I've told my directors that listen, why can't we just see all kinds of boys? Like why
Yeah.
are we putting people in boxes? Because then we are reducing the opportunity for some of these actors just because they have a pug or they wear a pug. Do we have to wait for that to come in a screenplay to cast them?
Right,
We
right,
don't.
right.
So I think that those small shifts here and there is, I think we've spoken too much about inclusivity, but I think that these small things is where it matters to be inclusive. or even like different body types, like all of that. Like if I have a age category that's given for an ad or a film or anything which is 30 something, I'm looking at all girls that are
Yeah.
30 something.
Yeah.
I'm going to look from, people from down south. I'm going to look for north. I'm going to look for people maybe from Assam. I'm going to look for people, anyone that's in that age category.
Right.
I'm not going to reduce it to only people that I think that, like, that what will be in their mind, try to gauge that.
Talking about inclusivity, and
Yeah.
you said that we've spoken about it a lot, but I still feel like I don't think we've spoken about it enough, in a sense that
In the right sense.
not necessarily in the right sense, but I often get asked by people that, do you think that a lot of brands practice tokenism? And my response is yes. Well, is that a bad thing? I say no, because I'm like, as long as it's happening,
Yeah.
as long as whoever's putting something out there that the normal viewer is not used to seeing, you're making them see something.
Yeah.
Which then eventually will become part of an everyday,
Yeah.
kind of a way.
I think, in casting, though, it's been there for so long, Shubhika. Like, messages like fair, North Indian, upmarket, these words have just been used so loosely, that it's just that really awful kind of narrative has been there for years. And I think it's still there.
No, but I want to get more specific
know?
with this. I was at Harvard like last year, and I was lucky to sit at a panel that Sushant Digwekar was a
Yeah.
part of. So one of the questions that I asked, because the panel was getting like really, really interesting, and I was like, so the movie that Ayushmann Khurrana and Vani
Yeah.
Kapoor did, where Vani Kapoor
A
plays
trans.
a trans woman, Chandigarh Kare Aashiki, right? So my question was that today I know that my almost 70-year-old father,
Yeah.
and people his age and his background and his generation and that time are probably watching that movie and are probably going away more educated and more empathetic to a trans woman and her journey and her reality.
Yeah.
And to a large extent, the movie kind of helped you see both sides of the story, of how it's something that initially Ayushman fears but then accepts and then fights for it, typical Bollywood
Yeah.
formula. um, so I was like, do you think that such movies actually help because they take it to the masses? Where in another scenario, had they actually cast
An actual
an
trans.
actual trans woman who was probably not a mainstream actor, maybe they would not have clicked on the movie on Netflix
Yeah.
and gone and watched it.
Yeah.
So I just want to understand, like, does it help? Does it not help?
I'm a little bit torn, to be honest, with the two sides that come with this question, because I think what you're deeply trying to ask is that should we be casting authentically, or should we be casting for whoever is best for the part,
Or what will get the views, or what will get the message
so
to the
I do
masses?
think that celebrities hold a very high regard in the in the masses mind, and getting them to the theater, it's easier with celebrities. So if our idea is to, if the maker is making it with the intention of reach and hence casting a celebrity, I kind of understand. But the thing is that there's also that question of monies and how much you can make, so those that'll always have two sides. But I do think that as a casting director, and I was asked this even in class, that if you're casting someone from the LGBTQIA, or should you be casting, is it okay to cast someone who is not from the community
Yeah.
but playing someone? So to be honest with that, I'm a little bit like, my answer is that it's like the best person wins, because for me, I'm supposed to judge actors, and or judge actors on how they perform a scene. So what we try to do is that we open the opportunity out to everyone, and then we see who the person who's done the best job at the test. This is on my level. But I will create that opportunity. I will make sure that we get in touch with LGBTQIA. Now there are agencies that are representing them, so you'll get in touch with agencies or actors. Put it out on your. I put it out on my Instagram, and get them to come in and test. A lot of them have not tested before, so they are fresh. and then you kind of see who has. But I can't say that I take that opportunity away from people that are straight. So we let everyone test and then see who the best person is. But I do think that if that same film Chandigarh Kare Ashiki had to be made with, maybe it wouldn't have got the reach that it was able to get with a celebrity. But I do understand that anyone who has experienced it would want to see actual representation.
Yes.
So
So to
that's also
which I
important.
think that I got a very good response there at that panel that they said, okay, you can't cast me, but you can at least make sure that your supporting cast in
Yeah.
whatever role or whatever capacity,
Yeah.
or say on your film set,
Create
because
opportunity.
yeah, because the
Makes
set has so many people,
Yeah.
be it like makeup artists or hairstylists. Did you make sure that they were from the community at least? Or did you make
Yeah, that's
sure?
one way that's one
Yes.
way of contributing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or did you make sure that the writers who were writing the script were from the
Were involved in,
community?
yeah, of course.
I mean, at what level did you check that you were standing for the community and not just using the community and their stories?
Right. That makes absolute
Um,
sense.
Even as a fashion designer, because it gets trendy and you feel compelled to do it, but can you consistently do it? Because very honestly, you get a lot of backlash. Like I did an entire
Really?
yeah, I did an entire campaign, which had a really lovely cast. It was Roshni was a
Yeah,
part
I know
of
Rashni.
it, and the campaign was called Nazar Na Lage. And in the comments, in the DMs, people were like, "In logo ko nazar kyun lagegi?" So,
So
so the and then you kind of, as a business owner, you start thinking, okay, is it why this collection is not doing well, or is it why people are not able to picture it on themselves as in a cis het marriage setup? Like so many things that you have to consider, like what you're saying, because at the end of it there's money involved, you have
yeah,
the
of
business
course.
to run, rent to pay, salaries to pay,
Of
etc.,
course.
etc. But I still think that for fashion brands, and I think fashion is art is a primary medium for us
Yeah,
to put the right messaging out
of
there, to
course.
support the community in the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that such conversations, the way you and I are having, which is to more problem solve
Yeah.
than to say, I get it, but I don't know what to do about it. So that's why I brought up that panel, because I
Yeah.
learned something that, okay, if you can't, then you make sure that there's enough representation across the
Course.
board. Then, when we talk about inclusivity, and you spoke about age,
Yeah.
and you spoke about how roles are being written very specifically. I mean, it isn't changing. I mean, kind of is changing with Neena Gupta coming up and saying, the post that she
I love
posted
her.
that went
Yeah.
viral. Do you feel like ageism is still very much an issue at both sides of it? Like actors also, do you feel after a point feel like now I'm too old to become an actor? Or I'm too old to send in an audition tape? And on the other end, do you feel that there is still pressure from the audience, from the casting directors, that women be of a certain age?
I think things are definitely changing, but I think they're changing very slowly. I hear, like we were talking about it earlier, that I've kind of surrounded myself with makers and directors that don't have that narrative in general. So I don't know so much about how other people are doing it outside, but we are not doing it like that for sure. But what I hear from other actors, sadly, is that there is some pressure with women and age. I'm a big, big supporter that you should embrace your age, whatever it is. And whatever age you want to start acting at, you can start acting. If it's a dream that you had when you were a kid, but then you got into a corporate setup, and then at 70, when you retired, you're like, I want to try acting, you should very well do that. So I think that there is still with women that hiding age thing is there with women more, sadly. We also had, I think, a big shift needs to happen. We were talking about this earlier, that this, like, at what age are we making young moms? Like, we're writing, let's say you're writing like a 36-year-old or 35-year-old with a 6-year-old kid. Now, this is not a reality anymore.
Yeah.
People are having kids
Not
much
even in
later.
India.
Not
Yeah.
even in India. I'm 34, I have no kids.
Yeah.
So I think that then, of course, then you're like, Arik, why you don't want to do? Why don't you want to do this part?
Yeah.
So, and I think that women nowadays they are looking for good parts. It's not like they're bothered about that. If there's a kid and the part is nice, they're like, I don't care, I'll do it. But I think that sometimes, once they do it to stereotype them, that's something that's a reality. It happens. You're like, Arey, aapne to young mother ka kiya hai. No, Apar.
So how do you manage these insecurities when women reach out
I
to
just
you? They hide.
empower them honestly. When they come, I just tell them age is just a number, own it. Even if you're 35, I know you look 32 or you look 30. So I will cast you on those. I will call you. Don't worry, those opportunities won't be missed out because your age is a little bit older. And
Right.
I may even call you for something 38.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you have the maturity to play that because a part is nice. So you have to, I mean, a little bit of trust there in the casting director actor relationship. But I do realize that I might be a slight anomaly, and there are many people in the industry that still give women and that age, screen age, kisi ko mat batana, like tell everyone you're 24. That culture is still very much prevalent. Also, pay parity, let's speak about that also. There's a huge difference in pay scales for men and women. I think they are now, it's now come to light, and a bunch of women at the top have fought for what they want.
Do you fight for the actors
In the sense?
to ensure there's pay parity?
Yeah. So mostly the way that it works is that we are. I would be the middle person to negotiate a deal with an actor, and I do believe that I am kind of mediating between the two. But wherever I think that, that this actor deserves it, I will tell the production house that, honestly, this is what they've worked for and they deserve it. And
Is it easy? Is it
no,
easy to
it's never
convince?
easy. It's always like it'll be a fight sometimes, and they'll be like, we can't afford the actor. But I think then it's like a joint decision between me and the director to be like, listen, this actor has done this body of work, and this much I think is not an unfair
No, but when
ask.
we actually talk about just the pay parity aspect
Yeah,
of it, not to do with the body of the work and all that, but specifically to do with the gender
yeah.
of the actor.
I think that's changing. I'd like to believe that I'm a part of that change because I don't think with men and women that come with the same experience, we want to push for that. But I think at the top it's still very, very skewed.
Yeah.
At the top is what I mean is like at the top level of
Yeah.
stars and
Yeah, I know what
actors,
you
it's
mean.
still not nowhere close to equal, I would say.
Right.
And that honestly, I'm waiting for that change to happen.
But I mean, I guess if you're doing it, if you are working with young actors,
Yeah.
young directors,
Yeah, that
then when they mature, it
Yeah.
is only a natural progression, hopefully, that
Yeah.
happens.
Yes.
So I think that's how I've started looking at change, that do it at your individual level,
Yeah, and
at
then
your
it'll-
scale and scope.
Yeah, and they
it
say,
will
right,
happen.
it always.
So now I want to talk about OTT specifically because it opened up the platform to so many young actors, not just young, like
Good
all
actors.
good actors, like actors.
Yeah.
Not celebrities,
Yeah.
but actors. And I was speaking to this fabulous, like I really admire her and her body of work. I won't take her name. And I was speaking with her at one event, and I was like, because she got nominated for the Emmy and stuff like that for the work that she's done. And I said, it's brilliant what you have been doing, and I'm so excited to see where you go next. And she said, I'm actually really worried because OTT opened up. It opened up brilliant opportunities for us, and we finally felt like, okay, actors are going to get their due.
Yeah.
But now, if you see what's happening, mainstream actors, celebrities, A-listers have now entered OTT.
Yeah.
Hira Mandi and Kareena Kapoor's and all of them are now here.
Yeah.
So again, what we saw happening in the movies is happening on the OTT platforms
Yeah.
for the actors. The roles are shrinking again.
I agree.
So what is your view on that?
I
Like,
actually do agree with this because I feel like the most wonderful part about OTT was the fact that we didn't care about where the actor came from. We just cared about what they brought to the table. And that is again gone into some like the same box office wala taste of like bringing names and
Yeah.
running after names, running after directors who are already established. I think what was wonderful is that in Sacred Games, Mirzapur, there were all this like fresh, not
Yeah.
only as actors, but just fresh talent, like Divyendu Sharma getting such wonderful due as an actor, which he always had.
Yeah.
Even Shreya Pilgaonkar, so many. Manoj Bajpayee making a beautiful comeback with
What
Family
a-
Man.
yeah, what a show.
So I feel like Sushmita Sen, who was missing for so long,
Yeah.
who I thought did really
I'm actually
lovely
getting
job.
goosebumps with all
Yeah.
the names that you're taking. You're talking about talent, I'm getting goosebumps.
So I think that, we got all of these people back, gave them amazing Ashutosh Rana, so many of them that we were missing, like so
Yeah.
much that we got to see. And I do think that the platforms did go back into this stage of like bringing names, but it's that, I think it's like a silly excitement of like the same thing that was happening at the box office, started to happen in OTT. And we can see clearly that the minute that mentality shifted, a lot of the OTT has not done well, or not
Oh,
done as well, or has not been received as well.
wow. Okay, so the
So
audience is pretty much in
I
control
think the
even now.
audience is talking for sure, because then Lapata Ladies has done wonderfully
So
well.
good. Yeah.
Doesn't have any big stars or
Yeah.
actors. 12th Fail has done phenomenally
Yeah.
well. Doesn't have any, I mean, for Vikrant, this feels like a breakthrough. We've really seen him. He's done the hard work.
Yeah.
He's come and given auditions. So, I mean, I feel like personally, it feels like a victory to all of us that he's got, where he is right now,
Right.
and he's getting all that attention that he always deserved. So I think that I think we should go back. I mean, if any of the platforms are watching this, then they should go back to what it was.
I don't know if it's platform, but it's also producers and it's
Yeah.
also, I mean, but you can't also blame the actors, right? Because theaters are not doing well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always,
Yeah, I think we're actually going through a hardcore transition right now, with like where I think the audience is kind of trying to scream out that you can't fool us anymore.
yeah.
You can't just like repeat one thing again and again, like action after action, action, and we're going to come and watch it.
Yeah.
Audience has gotten smarter. They have access to content on their phones at
Yeah.
the tip of their fingers, and they've understood what good actors mean, what they can bring to a table. So I think that, I mean, they're talking, like the nation is talking, and we
Yeah.
have to listen.
Yeah.
So I think some sort of transition is bound to happen, and we are in it right now. Actually, we've had a fairly slow industry right now. I would say from the start of the year, it's not been a very good time for the industry. Neither has it been for us in casting. We've not had the amount of projects that we would typically have.
Right.
So we are going through a little bit of a downtime, and many people were like, okay, elections ke baad theek ho jayega.
हाँ.
Or they're like, end of the year.
Same with fashion. Elections के
Yeah.
बाद ठीक हो जाएगा.
Elections के बाद ठीक हो जाएगा, या तो end of the year. But obviously we feel that energy in the office, where we are like, okay, we were like totally
Buzzing,
raring and
yeah.
hustling, and suddenly it's like, it's a dip.
Yeah.
But I think that that correction is bound to happen, and I think we're in the middle of it now. Like, I mean, it is a reality that even people in our generation, or my friends, or people around me, are going and watching English movies in the theater, but nobody is watching Hindi.
That's so true. Because Dune, they're like the big
Challengers,
movies.
Dune, everyone has gone and watched.
Yeah.
Who went? How many people went and watched?
So true.
Madgaon Express and Lapata Ladies.
I think people only went for Pathan.
Exactly.
They went for
That's
Pathan.
like the love for Shah Rukh Khan. I get it. I
Yeah,
get it. I'm
that's
here
the
for it.
currency. Okay, can somebody just switch on the air conditioning, please? It's getting so hot here. Frankly, nobody likes a sweaty situation. Ladies, are you fed up of your nipple covers feeling like a hot mess? Why not try Posh Wash? Check out the freshness on Nipposh.com. I'm going to talk about the influencer culture. Now, we spoke about A-listers coming into OTT. I also want to talk about how we've been seeing a lot of influencers
Coming into acting.
coming into acting.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that? Like, is that a decision from the producer or the director?
I think we'll talk about it from the point of view of the content creator. I think that content creation can be exhausting. And much like you and me in life, everyone wants to progress to the next
What
level.
next? Yeah.
What next? Yeah. And honestly, I'm no one to say that they shouldn't. How can I? Because I myself am looking for more things to do in life. And I feel like, what other than casting can I put my feet
Are
in?
we going to see you as an actor next?
No, not at all. We've just spoken about how I have zero patience to sit in a chair for 2 hours to do makeup. No.
Okay.
I'm very happy behind the camera. So I think that content creators want to eventually take their career to the next level, and they realize that acting is the next level, because it's all art and it's all creative. And so this is one of the diversions that they can take, and hence they find interest in it. So hence they come and they start auditioning. And yes, a lot of content creators have started to come and audition, or reach out to us and say that, we would like to come in and, explore acting and explore. So first things first, though, I tell them learn acting. which I've said on many podcasts and in general, कि this is important. Don't just say कि मुझे content creation आता है मेरे घर से with one light and myself, and I'll be able to be on a set with 100 people with co-actors, chop amount of time, and I'll be able to deliver because I've done content creation. Not at all. The two things are very, very different from each other, and we've seen this even in the studio. A lot of content creators are unable to perform in front of a bunch of other people because they're so used to being by themselves.
Right.
And they are also like, they try to micromanage. This one is true guts, which is they try to micromanage it. Actually, now should be from this side. So I'm like, this is where it is not going to be like this. On a film set, nobody's
You're
asking
not a boss
you.
on the set.
Nobody's asking you where to place the camera. So because they've figured out their angles and stuff that they feel like even in an audition, they'll cut kotake send something from home. So with content creators, all the more we say you have to come and audition in the office because we want you to come and can you get through that discomfort?
Right.
That's your first test, and of
Right.
course learning acting. I think
Can you
on
get
art-
through the discomfort is a great line. I think in any profession, like
Yeah.
anybody who's applying for any job, like, can you really get
Get
through the
through the
discomfort?
discomfort.
Because you just have to.
You have to.
I think brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then I think from the producers of on my level of casting and let's say the director, when I get a bunch of auditions from my team, I'm going to narrow them down to the auditions that I like, and I'm sending those auditions to the director with my notes on an email that this is the person that I think is interesting. अभी मुझे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है इस pool में how many people have how much following, right? It doesn't matter to me because I'm seeing the audition for what it is. So someone that has 5 million following could have not made it to my 6 people batch because I'm here to see the acting. And I'm not, when my team gives it to me, nobody's writing I'll kill them if they write these many followers, this one has and all. We are absolutely against that.
Right.
We don't. So I'm choosing it for what it is. And then it goes to the director, and the director will then further trim it and shortlist 2 or 3 people. Now, sometimes if a content creator makes it to that top 2 or top 3 that the director has also selected, then maybe the
Like a
producers,
Prajakta Kohli.
like Prajakta Kohli, then maybe the producers or the platform may show interest because they are running a business. So all of it is a business, right?
Yeah.
We are creative, but what they are doing is a business. So they are like, how do we market this product or this show? So would they maybe lean towards someone that has a following? Maybe.
Yes, for
but did
sure.
she get there without talent? Not.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's what one has to understand.
So you're saying the
Talent-
following doesn't outweigh the talent.
No.
Like, we can be sure of that.
Yes.
Like, that hasn't happened.
Yes.
So if you had to probably groom a young actor,
Yeah.
who would you give them as a point of reference in terms of ethics, consistency,
I think Vicky
integrity?
Kaushal.
Vicky Kaushal?
Yeah, I think Vicky Kaushal. I mean, I could even say Siddhant Chaturvedi has been through the whole drill. I think these actors have really done it in the most authentic way,
Right.
which has gone and stood with the back in the day slates also.
I actually
given
remember
profiles.
Vicky Kaushal coming in with Shweta
Yeah.
when they were doing Masan,
Yeah.
and Shweta had to do trials.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I found it really, really sweet about him. So she was doing her trials. What he did was he sat reverse, like on his chair, so that he's not facing
Oh.
even the trial room area. And he was so quiet. He didn't say one word. And I was like, this is a person who's just
Yeah.
really focused on his work.
Yeah.
And there was just none of the fluff, none of the talking, none of the,
Yeah.
So I could see that very, like, Masan was where he had such a small but very pivotal
Very
role.
pivotal role.
Yeah.
And like just see the way his trajectory has
Yeah,
gone after that. So I think it really shows that these people, like Vicky is someone that has gone and done the whole audition drill, no name throwing, even though his father did come from the industry. He just did it like any other normal boy. Even Siddhant Chaturvedi really has done the regular drill of auditioning and like then built a career over time with like hard work. And, I think that their journeys have been very interesting.
When do you feel the most comfortable in your skin,
When I'm on holiday,
Wow. Is there any specific city, country?
I mean, there's so many. Don't put me on the spot. But I think my favorites would be Amsterdam, New York, and now Kyoto.
So hashtag preach actually has a tagline. It says once upon a disruption, because and which is why you're sitting here, because you're a disruptor in your own right. So, And every industry, I feel, every few years, or now the pace at which we're moving, every few months it needs a disruption. What disruption you think your industry really, really needs right now?
I think that this might be a little scandalous, but it's fine. I think that a celebrity like star fees need a disruption right
Okay.
now. I think that stars need to be like that correction has to happen. There can't be so much at the top, and then by the time it trickles down, it's nothing for the ones that are actually
To
putting the work in.
writers and to the people
Yeah,
who
every
actually
all
edit and make,
technicians,
right. Okay.
because there's just such a big chunk that's taken at the top from the ones that already have it, that the ones then later the remaining ones have to struggle.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. So, what do you suggest budding actors do to upskill or
I
to
think
train?
budding actors, I would say definitely do an acting course, because now we have a bunch of really nice acting programs in Bombay. I think Rachit does an amazing job, Rachit Singh.
But what about kids from tier two, tier three cities?
Yeah, there's definitely less options of things that.
Online courses, do you think that works, or do you think in
No,
person?
yeah, acting you need to do in person. I feel like acting is all about what depending on co-actors, and that you need the flesh and.
So I heard somewhere you said that the best way for an actor to learn is to do as many auditions as they
Yeah, that's
can.
a great way to
You
learn.
gave Mronal's example
Mrinal has
that
said that on a
um,
podcast also with me.
so, but how do I today know where the auditions are happening? Do I need to get an agent? Not I, but like,
Yeah.
does it?
No,
And
everything is on Instagram. So
okay.
that's one way, which is that most requirements of most casting directors, all my
So you
contemporaries.
don't really need an agent. An actor doesn't need to get an
So
agency,
there's
an
a cat and
agent.
mouse situation with the agency, because technically you need the agency to get auditions, but the agency will not take you till you haven't cracked parts.
Got it.
So it's that is
Yeah,
a little bit of a discomfort,
got it.
because technically if you had them you would know about the auditions and be able to give them and hence crack them, but they will be like, a
Show
lot of
us about
agencies will
yourself.
be like, what have you done
Yeah.
to first to so like actually the class kids are a good example. Not most of them didn't have representation other than Gurfateh, and they all had to wait for the show to come out for people to take them seriously. Nobody
So
knows.
say if an actor is reaching out on Instagram or probably is cold emailing, are there any red flags that they need to be careful of? Because casting couch is a genuine fear,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to women or girls from cities outside of Bombay coming into Bombay.
yeah.
Like, are there any red flags they need to watch out for?
I think rechecking if the person is actually from the team. I think that's important. Most casting directors have put out their teams on their websites. I have. I know Mukesh and a bunch of other casting directors also have that. So you know already when they're getting in touch with you if you're getting a call from the right person. I think that the bigger red flags is if they're asking you for inappropriate pictures. Also, there's a lot of fraudulent things that happen in the film industry, where people tell actors that if you pay this much money, like those kind of things are a complete red flag. If someone is upfront telling you that you pay me this much money and I
I'll
will
get you a job.
auditions, I will
Yeah.
get you auditions also, they charge money for, which
Ah.
is crazy. Auditions are not charged. All of it is not a single rupee is ever given to anyone to give an audition in a casting studio.
Now we're going to move into a rapid fire.
Yeah.
Which is the one movie or show that you wish you had casted for?
Made in Heaven.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Top.
Nandini did it, so I'm like not that sad about it.
Yeah, it was brilliant
It's
though.
amazing. And she did
Brilliant.
such a wonderful job with the
Yeah.
show.
Um, top three films or shows that you really enjoyed casting for.
Casting for Kapoor and Sons, um, Mismatched, class.
If your life was a movie, who would play Panchami?
Wow. If my life was a movie, who would play Panchami means the person needs to be like me and have the same likes as me, right?
I don't know. I mean, you
I
have to
guess I
cast.
guess Karina Bebo.
Wow, nice. I like
We
that.
have very similar likes, which is
Okay.
basically just food and travel.
That's the next question. Three food items you'd want to eat even on your deathbed.
French fries, mutton
Right.
biryani, and anything Chindian. Which Chinese?
Chindian, so cute.
Chindian is a real thing.
I don't know.
What? Chinese Indian is
I know
Chindian.
Chinese Indian. I know Chindian.
I
Okay,
love
good.
it.
I'm educated today. One guilty pleasure or show, film or show.
Like something I've rewatched many times, Zindagi Milegi Na Dobara. I can watch it many, many times. And I think GOT also, I have done many, many reruns.
Really?
Many reruns.
Wow.
Me
Okay.
and Vish both have a problem. We do a lot of reruns.
Okay. If Panchami was a movie character, who would she be? Are you going to say Jab We Met?
Yeah, I was going to say Geet only.
Yeah.
I was going to say Geet only.
So good. I've understood you. Maybe I can be a casting director now. Casting for a movie or an OTT show?
I don't know if this will get me in trouble. No, I don't think it will. OTT.
OTT.
Because I feel like the characters are written a little, they are written a little bit more A to B to C, so it's more fun to cast.
Right. Okay. Mukesh Chabra mentioned there are no bad actors, only wrong casting. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I'm lying somewhere in between. But I do think that I think bad is a very strong word, but I think there are actors that have put in more work and less work, and that shows.
Okay.
So I'm somewhere in between.
An actor you think is underrated?
Mrinal Thakur,
Best advice you've ever received in your career?
just like to compete with myself.
And the worst advice you've received in your career?
Girls should adjust.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Big hugs to our girl Panchami Gavri for sharing all the insights and inner workings of what it takes to be a casting director and actor. Thank you for tuning in. I truly look forward to seeing you next time in conversation with our next trailblazer. While you keep guessing who that's gonna be, we're gonna go and get this episode up and ready.